Namaskar. Welcome to This Week with Padma Shri Dr. Sudhir Parikh. Doctor, sir, welcome. Namaste.
Namaskar, namaskar.
And so much has happened in the last week in the aftermath of what happened at the Capitol Hill. So let us recap from the impressions that you made on that day and the way Democrats have reacted. We are almost on the threshold of another impeachment for President Trump. How do you look and assess this reaction?
What happened last Wednesday is really very sad news or sad event for democracy. It should not happen. This kind of violation cannot happen or cannot be tolerated. The assault on the temple of democracy is not acceptable, and it should be condemned strongly. After saying that, now I can see that the whole Democratic Party and some Republican, even congressmen, they all are kind of try to pass the one one issue impeachment, second impeachment for President Trump. But I think if you look at, on one hand, President-elect Biden wants to unite everyone, and if you want to unite country, and here the divide is almost like a 50-50. So in order to unite the country and for sake of the country, I think second impeachment will kind of uh, uh, ignite the more division, more animosity, and more hatred to each other. I think they should find some way, like censuring president or something like that, which make him look bad. But again, the unity remains intact. Otherwise, both the party will go their extreme, and then makes the whole life of President Biden difficult in the future.
Absolutely. So, looking at the kind of priority which President Biden should demonstrate at the beginning of his tenure, already the focus is shifted to something which is not exactly positive, and we still have the challenge of pandemic at hand. So, let me switch gears and come to pandemic in terms of the distribution of the vaccine and people willingly going in for it. How do you see that situation, especially in New York, New Jersey?
Well, I think vaccine is rolling out, slowly but surely. Um, uh, and it differs from state by state. I mean, Florida, a lot of people got the vaccination first dose. In New Jersey, quite a number of individuals got the first injection. As compared to New York, seems to be very slow. And I think, I'm sure the governor and mayor will figure it out how to expedite or ramp up the whole vaccination process.
So, with this vaccine and the unfolding of America's democratic image are also going hand in hand. So, President elect Biden said in the first 100 years of his being in the office, he will have 100 million people vaccinated, which is not likely to happen based on the number of vaccines available and the way it is being rolled out. Do you have any idea in terms of the number of vaccines available?
Well, I think a number of vaccine will be available in next 3 months, 100 million dosage. But the problem is still different state is doing different way. So I think federal government should kind of finalize the plan, and all the states should follow that plan accordingly. Then I think a number 100 million in 3 months can be achieved. Otherwise, it's impossible to achieve, and then that is not good for pandemic.
And now let me go back to Democrats and President Trump. and President Trump's speech in the rally, the most quoted expression that we will fight like hell. Now, that he said earlier also. So, do you think that is effective way to correlate his this expression with what happened at the Capitol? And in terms of timeline, some people say that while he was making speech, this thing had already started. So to connect the two, may be logical, may not be logical. Your take on this?
I think I heard different reports about the whole event, when it happened, when President spoke, what he spoke, whether there's a cause relation between these two events. Speaking of President inciting and riot happening, and as you men say that riot started before even the president's speech, so we don't know, and only thorough investigation will find out what happened exactly. But whatever happened, it happened. It's unfortunate thing happened, and I think president should be sanctioned probably, just to show world that we mean the business. But I think impeachment and removing the president for 3 4 days before ending of the term, I think that will create more problem than less problem.
And talking about problems, there are reports that people are preparing to have a kind of aggressive demonstration or protest at 50 places, and accordingly, FBI is preparing itself in the day of inauguration, as well as Washington D.C. is pretty much like under curfew. You cannot have any protests, and you cannot gather in the parks and all that. So that doesn't leave a very good image of American democracy on the global level.
Well, I mean, as long as all the protests are peaceful, and if there is no violence, then protests in democracy, protests are always welcome. So, because there is a protest, the peaceful protest does not give a bad image of the democracy in the world. But if this protest becomes kind of violent, then I think it's no. It should not happen, and it cannot let it happen. And the law and order should be maintained to keep the protest peaceful, if at all there is a protest. But we can't, in democracy, is a fundamental right of the people to protest, and the First Amendment right to protest. So I think we cannot stop the protesting people, but we make sure that they protest, and do not kind of become a violent and unruly.
Yeah. The way things are, looks like they won't allow protests to happen in parks. But moving forward towards the other side regarding the role of media, indeed, one narrative is more prominently heard in the mainstream media, but now the social media, as we talked earlier, Twitter pushed President Trump away, and there was another platform, Parler, where right-wing leaning people were interacting with each other. That has also been pushed away by Google and other platforms. So, how do you see the role of big tech companies in twisting the narrative in favor of one or the other party?
I think it's not in long run. It's not good for democracy, and also these are the private businesses, privately owned businesses, but it's monopolized businesses. So by doing that, you are kind of creating another government who is regulating the everybody's speech, and that is, I think that is a kind of not good for democracy. Should not happen, and Biden government should take some action. So this kind of monopoly by private businesses cannot they cannot kind of force or enforce or implement their wishes on the people of the country. So I think it's not good idea in long run. It will backfire eventually, you know.
Absolutely. So now switching gears, going towards India, touching two important days. One, 9th January, when Mahatma Gandhi returned from South Africa, and the day is observed as NRI Day. And at Pravasi Bharati Divas, you were also recognized by Government of India. In terms of theme for this year is Atma Nirbhar Bharat and contribution of NRIs. Talk to me about this year's specialty in your view, including reference of FIA.
Well, I mean, as you know that this Pravasi Bharati Divas, Government of India celebrates every 2 years, and they recognize 30 different individuals or organizations throughout the world, those who are outside India, who is working for India, and who is working for Indian people. And this year, we are very fortunate that my organization, FIA, Federation of Indian Association of New York, New Jersey, and Connecticut, been recognized as with the Pravasi Bharati Sanman, and this is a largest or biggest NRI award from the government of India, and we are really very proud of our activities of Federation of Indian FIA and its team. And FIA, as you know, has been in action since last 50 years, and they started the India Day Parade, and now they made India Day Parade as a big institute now, and not only that, but they're also doing so many community outreach throughout the year. So I would like to congratulate um, as a senior advisor to FIA team, its chairman, president, executive committee, and my colleague board of trustees for a great work of last 50 years.
Wonderful. So congratulations to you too, being a part of FIA family also. And another important day is 12th January, which is observed as National Youth Day in India, and that is birthday of Swami Vivekananda. Swami Vivekananda has also inspired Prime Minister Narendra Modi, and you have also followed the inspiration of Swami Vivekananda, who came to America way back, and he's also a kind of NRI, NRI, having lived here for such a long time. So, talk to me about the significance of observing National Youth Day on his birthday.
Well, I mean, Swami Vivekananda was a saint. He was really very saint, educated, and spiritual person. And he came to this country 140 years ago, and he, at the age of 30 or 32, and he made Hindu religion a kind of significant religion in front of the world audience, and taught the people what Hinduism is. It's a kind of philosophy which one should follow. And I think we are very proud of him, and he taught us a lot, and all Indian should follow his teaching and continue to remember his teaching, and convey this teaching to our second or third generation uh, of generation children and Indian American, those who are in India and outside India.
Absolutely, very well said, Dr. Saab. And I recollect the quotation, or rather, words by Kavi Guru Rabindranath Tagore for Swami Vivekananda. He said, "If you want to know India, read Vivekananda. Everything there is positive. There is nothing negative about him." And as we conclude today's conversation, your parting words for our viewers.
Dear friends, lot of things are happening politically and otherwise in the India. So I would urge each and everyone to be very calm, very defend the democracy, defend our First Amendment, freedom of the speech, and in back home we should make sure that our farmers and government comes to some kind of conclusion, a positive conclusion to end farmers' agitation. And we should also remember, still we are in the pandemic. We are at the height of the pandemic. We must, whenever we get a chance, get vaccinated, stay home, don't keep your personal hygiene, keep the mask, cover a face cover, and that way you can minimize number of infection and be careful. Still, the pandemic is raging, and do not forget that, and be alert, be safe. Thank you, and we'll see you next week. God bless America. God bless India, and goodbye. Thank you.